Firas, can you say something first in English and then in Chinese, maybe?
Okay. I think I really like China. I think actually I really like Thailand
Why you like it?
because it's sunny all day, and then we can go to the beach.
And you're not at school yet, but very soon. We have been there already, right?
Okay.
And can you say it in Chinese?
我觉得泰国很好，因为那个天是因为天很晴朗，而那个沙滩很大。
Aloha. Today I'm going to interview a fellow traveler here who's been traveling long term as well, and we're going to find out how they went about finding a school here in Thailand. Details coming right up.
1, 2, 3,
Aloha.
We are Kensho Quest.
We travel to open our minds and our hearts.
Let's make friends around the world.
We are a slow traveling family with over 10 years experience traveling long term. We provide tips, hacks, and hope to inspire you to travel long term too. Today I have here my good friend Eric. Him and his family have been, well, abroad for quite some time now, and what is amazing about them is that all of them, including their kids, speak at least 3 languages fluently. Eric, if you don't mind, tell me about your family.
Yes, George, thank you. Nice to have met you here in Thailand.
Sure.
We are traveling, let's say, 13 years, but mostly we lived in China. That's where my kids were born, Shanghai and Hangzhou. We moved here 1.5 months ago, and we're subscribing them to a school, and we plan to stay here for the next years. We are a Dutch family. My youngest is 4, then the middle is 5, and the oldest is 10 years old.
Can you tell me a little bit about the schooling that you did in China?
Yes, so we subscribed them firstly to private schools when they were 4. And these are mainly Chinese language schools with some English classes, or you have bilingual English and Chinese schools. We chose for the first one, the Chinese schools, because we were really interested in getting them to acquire the skill of speaking Mandarin fluently.
Right.
And that worked out perfectly fine.
So that's got to be the best way, when you say, to be immersed in the culture itself to learn.
Yes, this is obviously for kids especially a very good choice.
Right.
If you like to teach them another language, the Chinese language is very hard to learn, but my kids are fluent in reading and writing and speaking, obviously. So that worked out perfectly fine. And of course their English language skills are also good. Their Dutch, I still need to work on.
But still, 3, I mean, that's amazing. And your oldest kid is 10, right? So
Yes.
Wow. So when your kids started to go to Chinese school, did they know any Chinese at the time, or did you just go right into it?
They were not able to speak any Chinese, but because we had a Chinese nanny when they were born, obviously they were exposed to the language often. And that helped us a lot, getting them to school, because there is tests, especially when you want to send your kids to a public school in China. They will ask you to do a test, and these are quite hard if you are not a native speaker in Chinese, but doable. So we actually asked a private teacher to help us to do the first test to enroll them to the public school, and that worked out.
And now you're in Thailand. I want to know, why did you choose Hua Hin, and how did you go about finding your school? That is a really common question that we get, is how do you do this?
Well, it's a very interesting story. I will keep it short, but my wife and a good friend went traveling in Thailand in 2006. And we really liked the country. We stayed here 9 weeks, and that was a really good time. We explored the whole country from Chiang Mai to Koh Samui. And we really liked it. But we were still students, and then when we got back to Holland, we were fantasizing about living in Asia. And of course we researched Thailand, but that was a little bit complicated for people that need to earn a good income to survive, and still a lot of insecurities. So we were just thinking about what could be the best place for us in Asia to start, and that was in our opinion, there was Shanghai, which we consider to be the fastest growing city in the world. And we were right. It is 14 years ago that we went there, and there were so many opportunities for us. But it was very different from Thailand, and we already knew that, of course. but we already accepted that, and we really wanted to emerge into China back then. So the dream changed a bit from living in Asia to living in China. And after 13 years, we decided to go to Hua Hin, where we have been on several occasions for holidays. And because we like this environment here, it's an international environment, which I always like. I like to be in a local, I like to go local, but I also like to be in an international environment. And I always tend to find the places where both are available. And I think Hua Hin is a small town, but it has quite a significant population of foreigners.
True. Yeah.
So I find best of both worlds here. It's a very family-friendly environment. It's not a big city like Bangkok. It's a small town, but it has everything we need.
Right.
So
I just want to add to that. So we also really like Hua Hin for all the reasons that Eric just said here. And it's amazing because it's a very small town, but what's great about it is also the air is cleaner, you know, and there's not much traffic. So it's a really good place to raise your kids. And also, like you said, it's a very international community. So perfect spot.
Yes. So about the school, we firstly did some research. Where can we send our kids to school? We had Hua Hin as number 1 and also Phuket as number 2. And we saw a nice school in the south of Phuket near Nai Harn. And basically we did online research. We just checked a website, international school database. I can send you the link.
That would be great. We'll put a link to that in the description down below.
And on top of that, I also zoomed in on the city center of Hua Hin and also in Phuket on certain areas. And then I just searched for international school, bilingual school, and school. And then certain options pop up. And each option often provides a link or an email address. And an email address, of course, is easy to send an email to. So I made a proper email and introduced our family. And then I asked them for the semesters and for the costs. And if they were giving Chinese classes.
And how many schools did you contact?
Around 5 schools I contacted, and all were responding to me, so that was good. Mostly the dean or the head master asked for a meeting in person.
Wow. So after this initial email, it just shows that there's interest in you. They want you to come, basically.
Yeah. We felt very welcome, and that was very good for us. So we got the information we needed quite quickly. Even on top of that, which I didn't know if I could ask, but it was no problem at all, for visas. They support visas as well. So the schools all provided an additional fee for submitting an education visa for the children.
Now, regarding visas, that is a very complicated subject, so we're not going to go into a lot of detail on it. Everybody needs to do their own research because based on our experience anyways, that everybody gets a different experience. So please do your own research. Now, regarding the visas, you said the school was willing to help you with the child visas. What about the parents? What do they have to do?
Yeah, so in our case, we have to wait till they have their visas, and then we can choose for the option to become dependent. We have 3 children, and 1 child can have 1 dependent parent. So in our case, that solves our situation. We also consider other visas, but we're not sure yet what to take. But until they have their visas, we have to find our own way to stay in Thailand.
So initially, you do not get a visa, just your kids will get a visa. All right, so what type of visas are your kids getting initially?
Yes, so they will get a 9 weeks visa, which allows them to do the whole procedure for the education visa. And I'm not sure when we will get it, but let's say in 9 weeks they will have their education visa for 1 year.
I see. Okay, so first thing you have to do is you will get the 3-month visa, which is 9 weeks actually.
Yeah.
And then after all the paperwork is done and is completed, they will be issued a 1-year e-visa, which is the education visa. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right about that. That's correct.
Okay. Now, you were saying again, in the meantime, you as parents don't get a visa, you have to get your own. So what avenues are you looking into? You mentioned that there were multiple ways to do this.
Yes, so we were not prepared for that yet, but we will find a way. There's many options in Thailand. So we will probably go for an extension due to COVID right now. But you can also extend your visa exemption, or you can also do your own education. You can do Thai boxing, or you can do schooling here. There are a lot of options to study, and they also come with an option to do an education visa for me.
For parents as well. So
For
basically
parents.
anybody can do an education visa.
I think depends on the situation of each person, but I expect that there will be ways for everybody.
And are you using an agent or are you doing this all on your own?
Yeah, we work with a local agent in Hua Hin, and she helps us a lot with options, and she provides good advice. And I think she has the ways, she knows the ways how to get it done.
As far as the agent goes, I highly recommend that you get an agent because this can get really complicated. And again, like I said, you know, based on different experiences that we've had and other people like we know Eric has had, is it can be really complicated. So highly recommended to get an agent. And they're pretty reasonably priced too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's very fine with us.
Yeah. Especially if you have a family, you don't want to waste all your time working on this and make a mistake and have to start all over again.
No, I agree.
Right. Okay, so now what was the cost for the visas for your kids? Was this added on to the tuition price or was this something completely separate? And is there a separate cost for the 9-week and then the 1 year as well?
Yeah, so only for the visa, we paid 5,000 Thai baht for one person for administration fees to the school. So in our case, it's 15,000 Thai baht we paid. But when you arrive at the immigration, they will charge you also a visa fee. In our case, it was 2,000 baht per child. So right now we paid 7,000 Thai baht per child.
And are there going to be any additional fees that you know of, or this is going to take care of including the 1 year visa?
That is a little bit difficult for me to answer because sometimes that can be a surprise. But it's possible we have to pay another 2,000 Thai baht, but I'm not sure at the moment.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad, I don't think.
No, it's okay for
Yeah.
1 year. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's back up a little bit again. And regarding the tuition itself, what is the cost of the tuition for your school? And are there additional fees related to tuition, such as, you know, sometimes there's enrollment fees, other additional admission fees?
In our case, we picked an international school, but it's also close to a bilingual school. So what it means is they have mainly English education, but also provide Thai classes and also provide Chinese classes. And we paid 35,000 Thai baht for the first semester. Now there's 2 semesters. So in total, we will have to pay 70,000 Thai baht for only the tuition fee for 1 year.
And this is for one student?
This is for one student, yes.
Okay, and now you mentioned that there's 2 semesters, so when are the breaks and how long are those breaks in between?
So our children will enroll after the holiday. That will be actually in May, mid-May. So let's say 16th of May, which is a Monday. And then the first semester will be till end of September. Then there will be 1 month holiday in October. And then in November, 1st of November, they will go back to school until February, the end of February.
Wow, so they get 2 long breaks, is that correct?
Actually, they have 2 long breaks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice. So,
But there is an option for a summer class for 6 weeks, which will be in half March to end of April. So you can choose to have the kids at home for 2.5 months during this period, or you can send them for 6 weeks to a summer camp.
I see. But that's completely optional, right?
That is an additional 10,000 baht.
Additional
that's-
10,000 baht.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is optional.
Right. But you don't have to send them if you don't want to.
No, it's
Okay.
all totally open, and you can also find another way to. There are so many options here
Right,
available.
right,
For
sure.
Summer camps.
And what's also great about being in Southeast Asia is if you want to take that time off and travel, there's so many places you can go to nearby.
Yeah. There is a lot to explore and very convenient. Everything is also in English language, easily to arrange. So
Perfect.
it's perfect actually.
Right, yeah, perfect, yeah. So it's the beginning of March now. Since school seems to be not in session right now, can you enroll your kids anytime? So can they start school anytime, or do they have to wait for an open season?
Yeah, most international schools and bilingual schools are open for enrollment every time you are there. So they are open for enrollment the whole year basically. But of course, when there is a holiday, there is no school.
Right.
So right
Yeah.
now the kids are at home, but that is fine. And
Yeah.
we just wait till the next day that they start, and we consider them to send them to the summer camp.
As far as the length of school goes, how long is a school day?
It's every school has different opening times and closing times, but in our case they start at 8:30 and they finish at 9. No, sorry.
That's a short school day.
Or not, or very
Oh
long.
yeah, or very long, right? Yeah.
Every school has their own opening and closing time, but in our case the school will open at 8:30, and then they will close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is there an option for them to stay later? Like some schools offer that, right?
Yeah, there is options. There is curricular activities they can choose, and they can just stay till 5, 6 o'clock. That's okay.
And that's usually an additional cost as well, right?
That will be at an additional cost, depending on the teacher or the subject or the activity.
Right. Yeah, but it's good to have that option. So, you know, just in case if you're working late or you can't pick up your kids, good option to have.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you decided on this school, what were some of your requirements that you wanted?
So in our case, it was very important that they keep their level of Mandarin up. So we specifically asked the schools that we inquired if they provide Chinese class as well. And that was a very common topic before COVID. Right now there is a few schools that provide that. But in our case, the school that we chose, they provide that option for Mandarin classes.
Are they being taught any of the languages, or is the rest of the school taught in Thai?
No, it's mainly in English language. So we picked in a bilingual international school. In that case, most of the topics are in English, but there is an additional Thai class as well.
So they're taught a little bit of the Mandarin as well as Thai, but it's mostly in English.
Yes, and if they have other topics like math, they will be in English as well.
Okay.
If you're married to a Thai woman or a man, then you are able to send the kids probably to a public school. But for foreigners, it's very difficult, and I think it's not possible to send them to a Thai school, which will be mainly taught in Thai language.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the other options are always in English language, and that is very useful in our case.
Right, yeah. And I suppose if you always really wanted them to learn Thai, you can send them to a private tutor or something.
Yeah, there's so many options.
Right.
So
No shortage of those.
and they'll pick it up anyway, playing outside
Right.
with Thai children.
Right. Now, Eric, what happens if you decide to go home and you have to enroll your kids back in school in the Netherlands? Do you think they're going to have a hard time adjusting? Is the curriculum going to be completely different? And what about socializing? How do you feel about all this?
I think at the current stage, for the oldest one, it might be a little complicated because then he has to work on his Dutch language skills, but it will take a couple of months. I don't see big problems. I also don't want to go back to the Netherlands right now. It will take a couple of years at least for me to consider to go back. We really enjoy the way of living here, and we don't plan to go back yet. But if we would go back, I think it's all possible. We have also English schools in Holland, and especially on bachelor master level, there are so many educational programs taught in English that it doesn't matter. There are so many options for them to pick from.
Wow.
But I consider it like if we would migrate to another country, we will have the same issue anyway. I mean,
Very good point. Right. Yeah.
It
doesn't
does not
matter.
matter.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's a really good attitude and a very valid point too. So yeah, no matter where you go. So you came from China to Thailand already.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is very feasible, very easy to do actually. Not easy to do, but it's doable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And because that's a big concern. We get this question all the time. How are our kids going to adjust? And what about the social aspect of this? What happens? When you have to go home or somewhere you haven't been in a while.
Yeah. So what you see is they can easily make friends. They are very social. They always try to keep in touch with their old friends as well. Like for example on WeChat. So we still need to find a phone for him to connect with his old friends. But I know the parents already, and we keep in touch. Like once 2 weeks, they send a small message to each other about how it goes. So you can still see that they talk with the kids they knew from China. But right now, of course, your son, they were very quickly making good friends, very good friends, and playing every day and have the same interests. So that goes very well also. And I believe this is not a negative side of moving. I think it's a positive side.
Yeah, I agree completely. Okay, Eric, we've come to the end here, but do you have any last words of advice or encouragement for our audience out there? Because, you know, a lot of people are still so timid about this. So how do we make them feel comfortable?
Yes, I think everybody should consider doing it. If they have any doubts, they just do it. That's what I did, and I never regretted it. It changed my life totally in a very, very positive way. And I would recommend to do the same. If you have any, if you really feel like you miss something out, why not do it for 1 year? I mean, that's what I did. I decided just go 1 year to China, see how it goes, and it ended up in 13 years.
Wow, yeah, that's a long time. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very long time, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Right. Yeah.
I can say now we went to Thailand is also starting from scratch a little bit. So we basically design our own life. So what I did is I find the school first, then I find the house where we want to stay, so I can reduce the commute time almost to 1-2 minutes. And that will give us a lot of extra quality time.
Right. That's really smart, especially here in Thailand where it's not really walkable for kids in general. So finding somewhere where you can just walk to school a couple of minutes in a walkable neighborhood, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that is also a word of advice. Design your life before you go. Plan what you want to do first. And yeah, if you, for example, have work in Thailand, then you just find a school and work close by. And then you find your house there in the middle of it,
Perfect.
for example. That will save you a lot of time later.
Right, yeah, and headaches. Because then you already have an idea of what it's going to be like.
Yes, and costs.
Right, right.
Yeah, another point I like to make, as a Dutch person traveling the world, I everywhere see English language classes, English language schools. It's full of bilingual, which is always English, at least in Asia. And I would say, for me, that's a little bit complicated in the beginning because I'm a Dutch speaker. Of course, everybody in Holland speaks English, but I don't have the luxury like the Americans have to just go everywhere in the world and find a school that speaks English.
Did you hear that? Very good point. Yeah, so if you're American like us, no excuses, right?
No excuses.
So just get out there and do it.
I agree.
All right, Eric. Thanks a lot for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions for Eric or for myself or for Heidi, let us know in the comments below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks a lot. Bye.
So just now, my oldest son walked by. I thought let's have a small chat with him in Chinese and English. I think that is very inspirational for many people to see.
你好，我的名字叫天一。My name is Faraz.
你几岁？
我10岁。I am 10 years old.
你喜欢泰国吗？
我喜欢泰国。That means I like Thailand. 因为天气很晴朗，而沙滩很大的。
I think they didn't get that.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that it's always sunny and it's big. But actually, I was supposed to mean it's beautiful. You say
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.